Hi, my name is Christina, and this is my journey of starting a forever food forest. My goal is to grow food using permaculture principles, which means growing food without the use of pesticides, herbicides, or commercial fertilizers, and instead creating a symbiotic ecosystem where plants and animals coexist and benefit each other, kind of like what you would find in a forest. In this video, I'm going to cover the most important part of starting a food forest, and that is creating rich, nutritious soil through the use of compost. What is composting? Composting is a decomposition process that takes organic matter and breaks it down into nutrients that your plants can easily use. Think of it as nature's recycling plant. You're using what you have to make what you need. And best of all, it keeps waste out of the landfill and returns nutrients back to your soil. I want you to start composting today, so I'm gonna make it as simple as possible for you to get started. First thing you're gonna need is a container for your compost. You can use a dedicated bin with a lid that you hide under the sink. You can also just use a bucket. Once you start looking around the house, you will find that you have plenty of things that you can compost. Paper towels, compostable. Citrus rinds from your breakfast, perfectly compostable. Coffee grounds, excellent source of nitrogen. Shells from pistachios or peanuts or walnuts, excellent carbon source. Cardboard boxes, throw them in the compost. Takeout bags, a bag of lettuce that's been wilting in your fridge for a week. You're in luck because we can compost that. You bet we can compost that. So once my container is full, I take it outside and empty it out into a bigger bin where the magic happens. Okay, so this is probably the least glamorous part of gardening. We're just gonna empty this out. And this is why you wanna have a lot of like paper and a lot of browns, because it prevents the compost from getting too gross. But there are three main things that should stay out of your compost bin, and that's oils, meat, and dairy. So after I put my compost, I close this and just give it a tumble. It's so easy. And that will mix everything up for you. That way you don't have to stick your hands into that yucky, mucky, slimy mess. And on a side note, compost should never be like too wet. It should be damp, but not like dripping wet. I like using this bin for composting kitchen scraps because it's fully sealed off and above ground, and it keeps the critters out. This style of compost is known as cold composting. It's a little bit of a longer process, but it's a lot hands off. If you find that your compost has a lot of gnats, that means you need to add more carbon. And I find that especially with my kitchen scraps, where I do have a lot of nitrogen-rich material, it tends to attract a lot of bugs. So one way to combat that is to add some more paper or wood chips or branches, cardboard, things like that. I use this bin for all of my kitchen scraps. What I like is that it has two compartments. So once one compartment is filled, I move on and start filling the other one while this one cooks. After about 2 months, I take the compost that's in here and either use it in my garden or put it into my big hot compost pile. Hot compost means that the internal temperature of this pile is around 160 degrees. Oh, it's nice and hot. Ooh, she's hot, Lord. Oh, Lord, she's hot. Hot composting is a great way for breaking down a large amount of yard waste into lots of nutritious soil for your garden. It's environmentally friendly, renewable, and absolutely free. When plants grow, they extract nutrients from the soil. So if you think about weeds, how they can grow in nutrient-poor soil, they're able to take any nutrients that are available in that soil. So when you take those weeds, you're taking those nutrients, and if you compost them down, you're going to release those nutrients back into your compost. Composting just makes sense because you are recycling all those nutrients that were extracted at one point, and you are putting them back in, and you're using them to grow either vegetables or flowers or what have you. The biggest challenge with hot composting is finding the space to do it, because you need a big enough pile in order to generate heat. The smallest pile you can get away with is about 16 cubic feet, so that's 4 feet long by 4 feet wide and 4 feet tall. Once you start collecting your yard debris, you will realize that that pile is going to grow pretty quickly, especially if you have a lot of branches and leaves, things like that. I like to use a 1-to-1 ratio just to keep things simple. So that's 1 part greens, 1 part browns, and I layer them in like lasagna. Now the greens are going to compost or decompose down a lot quicker than the browns. So every 3 weeks I add more greens. And as I'm adding them, I'm also turning my pile. So everything that was on the top ends up on the bottom. And once again, I am layering in layers of greens. If you have rabbits or chickens or other herbivores, you can also use their poops as another source of nitrogen. After about 6 to 9 months, you are going to have rich garden soil amendment that you can use to grow vegetables. You can use it either to top dress your plants, your vegetables, your fruit bushes, or your flower beds. Also keep in mind that your compost pile is going to shrink down. So if you start with 16 cubic feet, you're probably going to end up with more like 8 or 10. A lot of it, as it breaks down, it gets smaller. So just keep that in mind and always start with way more than what you think you're going to need. So hopefully that has answered some of your questions about composting. If you have further questions, make sure to ask them in the comments below, and I'll make sure to answer them for you. So thanks for watching, and if you want to know more about starting a food forest, make sure to follow me.